I just knew somewhere in the background his grubby mitts would be involved some way, somehow. Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well and that you had a great week. To all of my house guests, as you can see, I'm in the car. I need to run a few errands before the shops close because it's Mother's Day weekend and I'm trying to get things done. So grab yourselves a drink and make yourselves comfortable. If you're passing by and you'd like to become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all of your notifications. I'm Chez, this is Chez M0i. Welcome to my place. The day of this video's upload is Mother's Day in the UK. Now, some of us will be fortunate enough to spend all or part of the day with our mums, or at least be able to give her a call to let her know you're thinking about her. Unfortunately, because he's not had the opportunity to do either of those things for the last 28 years, Harry's way to memorialise his mum was by setting up a charity in her name, Sentebale, with his friend and co-founder Prince Seeiso of Lesotho in 2006. So I have to say it came as a surprise to hear this news on Wednesday.
There's a story about Prince Harry on the front of a lot of the newspapers with regards to his charity, Ashley. And I think when you're sort of sitting from the side, you understand how important this charity has been to him, the purpose that it offers. After 20 years to be stepping down feels like quite a wrench.
Yeah, this is really sad. So his charity, Sentebale, he founded in 2006 with his friend Prince Seeiso, and it's basically to continue the legacy of both their mothers, obviously Princess Diana and Queen Mama Hato, I think she's called a Hato, I'm not sure, sorry. And we don't really know too much at the moment, but basically Prince Harry and everyone on the board has stepped down in protest of Sophie Chandorka. Again, sorry if I've not said that correct, but she was appointed chair in 2023. She's a Zimbabwe-born lawyer. And so she is claiming that she has been the victim of bullying, harassment, misogynoir, and they are claiming that she's trying to take the charity in a direction that they don't want it to go in. So they have all quit in protest. So at the moment, obviously, we don't know the ins and outs of why, but I think this is really sad. I actually went to a Sentebale event at the Kensington Palace Gardens, and Coldplay were performing, and it was amazing. And you could just tell it's something that's so personal to Prince Harry. Obviously, he went on his gap year. He saw firsthand. He said that like working with or being around the children there really like touched him, and he claims that being around the people that he spent the time with there, they were like his second family, and so it feels very heartbreaking on his side that it's come to this.
I think purpose is a hugely important thing for Harry, isn't it? And we know that Invictus is still going strong, but this was the other thing that was a sort of mainstay and has been for nearly 20 years now.
And sounds like it's ended pretty acrimoniously, certainly from the reports that are in the papers this morning. charity commission involved looking at the running of the organisation. There's lawsuits back and forth from the chair of the organisation about trying to remove her from her position.
She was asked to stand down.
She was asked to stand down, refused to stand down.
Yeah.
There's seems to be all sorts of back and forth about where the charity is going to be based, whether it's going to be based nearer to or in Lesotho rather than in events in London, what have you. So that it does seem to have ended pretty badly and acrimoniously, and you wonder what the purpose is going to be, whether actually the work that he finds so fulfilling and rewarding and clearly helps a lot of particularly children can be done through a different vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's an article which appears to provide some direct insight. This Sky News article was published on the 27th of March 2025. I'm not going to read the entire article because it is quite long. The headline reads, "Misconduct claims at charity set up by Prince Harry, a surprise, says Sentebale trustee." Sky News speaks to Dr. Kelelo Lerothali about a row with the charity's chair that's triggered the resignation of Prince Harry as patron. A former trustee at a charity co-founded by Prince Harry has said he is surprised at claims of bullying, harassment and misogyny made by its chairwoman. Dr. Kelelo Lerothali told Sky's royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills he did not recognise the allegations. Prince Harry established Sentebale in 2006 in honour of his mother, Princess Diana, to help children and young people in southern Africa. Dr. Lerothali and other trustees have resigned amid a bitter internal row, with Harry also quitting as patron in solidarity. The royal said on Tuesday he was devastated and in shock at having to part ways. "What's transpired is unthinkable," said a joint statement issued with co-founder Prince Seeiso of Lesotho. Chairwoman Dr. Sophie Chandorka, who has not accused anyone specifically, alleges issues of poor governance, weak executive management, abuse of power, bullying, harassment, misogyny, and misogynoir. However, Dr. Lerothali told Sky News he had never witnessed these issues and that claims came to me as a surprise. "I can honestly say, in the meetings I was present in, there was never even a hint of such," he said. The general tone and conduct of the board has been one of respect for each other, accommodating each other's opinions and inputs, and speaking with respect to each other, so this all came as a shock to me. Dr. Chandorka said on Tuesday that she had reported Sentebale's trustees to the Charity Commission in the UK and obtained an injunction to stop them from removing her. Precise details of the fallout within the charity are unclear, but reports have suggested it's connected to a decision to focus fundraising in Africa. "I think things came to a head at the end of last year, when it seemed that we were not doing as well as we used to be, and that the future didn't look as bright as it used to," Dr. Lerothali added. "As is natural in an organisation, we had to sort of look inwards and see how we deal with it, and then look at how the situation came to be." Prince Harry was inspired to start the organisation after spending 2 months in Lesotho when he was on a gap year in 2004. Dr. Lerothali said the situation was especially painful for him because he was there at the very beginning. "I recall personally hosting Harry during his gap year. He happened to be in Lesotho during the Rugby World Cup. I happened to have an oversized TV, so they spent most of their time watching the World Cup," he said, noting that this is when initial discussions about the charity started. "So I've watched them from the very beginning into where they are now. I've also experienced very closely the successes they've had, the impact they've had. When I look at that and see where we're at now, it's really disheartening and actually very painful and very personal to see what we've come to." Dr. Lerothali admitted it was very difficult to think about the next steps. He said he has a sense from Prince Harry and Prince Seeiso that they feel guilty of having to take the decision they've had to take, but also understanding the fact that they had no choice ultimately for the betterment of the charity. "The Prince's decision to resign allows them to see what's next," Dr. Lerothali said, "because I can tell you, I'm very sure they are not going to leave the kids in the lurch. They're going to find a way to deliver on the mission that they've set for themselves in memory of their mothers." A Charity Commission spokesperson said it was aware of concerns about the governance of Sentebale and was assessing the issues to determine the appropriate regulatory steps. Prince Harry was in Lesotho, which has one of the world's highest rates of HIV and AIDS, as recently as last October. In a statement, Sentebale said it was evolving into an organisation which addresses larger issues of youth health, wealth and climate resilience in southern Africa. It said it had not yet received resignations from its two royal patrons. So clearly this is a difficult situation, and I actually don't know how to feel about this, because as a person on the receiving end of discrimination, I'm just going to use that blanket term, it's not nice. Most of my professional life has been spent in male-dominated spaces, and as a woman, as a black woman, you become a soft target for the individuals around you, because in my mind they want to test your resolve, they want to test your resilience, and when you stand up to them it becomes a challenge for them, in my humble opinion. So perhaps that's what's happened here. Clearly Dr. Sophie is an accomplished, educated woman, and I applaud her for that. If she was not going to be good at her job, they would never have chosen her. The fact that the whole board of trustees and the two royal patrons resigned, it could be interpreted in many different ways. Maybe she just had ideas. Well, it seems to be that she had ideas that were not aligned with everyone else, and take the two princes away from this because they're patrons. I doubt, well, Harry's not going to be there every day to oversee operations because he lives in a different country. But if I put myself in Dr. Sophie's shoes, and knowing the sort of men that she would have been around or had to deal with, she doesn't strike me as the type of person who would keep quiet, because I recognise myself in that. But it had to be really bad for everybody to resign. So obviously there's some kind of breakdown in communication, or people, such disagreement that the situation is untenable. Now, having said that, like the doctor said in this article, I doubt whether Harry and Prince Eso are gonna just, abandon everything. I would hope that they're going to have another iteration of the charity, because the main aim is to help these children, these young people. So whatever guise that takes, the main objective should be to continue to help these young people. What happens with Sentebale in the aftermath, whatever happens. But what I'm going on to talk about next is something that really disturbs me. Any reasonable thinking person will usually reserve judgment until both sides of the story are heard. Conversely, individuals will have an immediate reaction and arrive at certain conclusions before learning the facts of a situation. I came across this LinkedIn post from a black woman who works with black women, as it indicates in her bio. I'm not going to identify her. So I understood why she might view this case through a certain lens. But I have to challenge the idea that Harry is a racist. Had this been during his rebellious phase, it wouldn't be hard to apply that label to him. But let's not be silly. Harry's mother-in-law, with whom he entrusts his children, is a black woman. He wasn't blind about that fact. He wasn't ignorant about that fact. Also, he was involved in the decision-making process of selecting Archie's nanny, Lauren Khumalo, who, just like Dr. Sophie Chandorkar, is from Zimbabwe. You may remember her as Archie's nanny when the couple undertook their tour in South Africa. More profoundly, even with his friends and family members warning him not to develop a serious relationship with Meghan, and him witnessing the vile treatment Meghan received in the press because of her ethnic background, Harry could have easily walked away for a much quieter existence. However, he has had broadcasters of all types not hiding the disgusting things they'd like to do to or seen done to Harry's wife and children, including Archie being referred to as a monkey not long after he was born. You would have to be a sadist to look forward to and be completely unaffected by perpetual criticism for being in an interracial relationship. You would have to be a sadist to be pleased to know that your children who have African heritage will be viewed through a less favourable lens than their Anglo-Saxon cousins. However, that is not to say that the Caucasian partner of the interracial relationship cannot be racist. In fact, there are videos on YouTube right now made by adult children of colour who've had extremely difficult relationships with a Caucasian parent due to all kinds of verbal racial abuse they experienced growing up. I would really just like people of colour to not conveniently forget that we see all forms of discrimination within our very own communities, particularly when it comes to skin colour, otherwise known as colorism. The type of discrimination that can leave lifelong, deep psychological scars, a very tribal concept and a highly destructive concept. I actually remember in 1989, at the age of 18, I went to visit my grandmother in Jamaica. I hadn't seen her since I was 5, and that was my first time on the island. I remember one morning I was at breakfast and Grandma had the radio on, and this advert came on asking for adoptive parents to come forward to adopt a baby, and they described the baby in such detail, saying that the baby had light skin and pretty hair. Now obviously this kind of shocked me, because in my mind I'm like, if someone wants to adopt a baby, they want to adopt a baby, what is the relevance of these physical characteristics? So I asked my grandma, and she, because it's normal, she said they need to describe them because some people do not want a dark-skinned child in their home. I mean, guys, that actually shocked me, I'm not gonna lie. And this is why I struggle with the hypocrisy in our communities. But we don't want to talk about it because it's too uncomfortable. It's like with most things that we do in our communities, we want to sweep them under the carpet because, if we just hide it away, if it doesn't exist. But it does exist, and we need to talk about it. Now, as the week progressed, I thought this situation with Sentebale had a tenuous link to William for some reason. Don't even ask me why I thought that. I guess because we're aware of the fact that he covertly wants to see his brother's downfall, and I dismissed this idea as ridiculous until I came across this social media post. This post was made on X, I believe, by the Duchess Zone, who reports that Ian Rawlinson, who works for Prince William's Tusk Trust, was appointed as a new trustee for Sentebale on Tuesday. the day that Harry stepped down as patron. I do not believe in coincidences, guys. You know this about me, if you've been with me long enough. I don't believe this is a coincidence. Could it be the reason Harry stepped down? Only time will tell, but I knew that William had his fingers in this pie because he is looking, as far as I'm concerned, to taint everything that Harry does. And this is evidence of entitlement, running away from work. Anything that William does, he does with minimal effort. And he wants to jump on the back of anything that Harry does. He wants to piggyback off anything that Harry does. Absolutely disgusting. You may remember earlier on in the video, I referenced one of those vile broadcasters as Jeremy Clarkson. Now, he has a show. I can't remember if it's on Netflix because I have no interest in it. So, yeah, you may have to do your own research on that one. The show is called Clarkson's Farm. Self-explanatory. A lot of people watch it. It's quite popular. The fact that William apparently is going to appear on this show has angered many people, which displays his aloofness, or that he really does not care about the optics. And here is where I counter Jason Knopf, his observation that William and Kate are not looking for popularity. Because why are you appearing on this show, William? Not that you can't, you can do whatever you like. But knowing that this man disparaged your sister-in-law, it says more about you and your role as a future king, because your decision making is very poor, in my humble opinion. If William is somehow trying to piggyback off the nearly 20 years that Harry has invested in Sentebale, he needs to realise that he should focus on the role he's actually not ready for, as reports about Charles's health emerged.
Now, in the last couple of hours, King Charles has been seen in public for the first time since it was revealed he's under doctor's orders not to work today. He has had his official commitments in Birmingham cancelled. Buckingham Palace announced last night he'd had side effects from his cancer treatments. With the latest, here's our royal editor, Chris Shipp.
In the spring sunshine this morning, the sovereign's flag was flying above Buckingham Palace, clear to all that King Charles stayed in London overnight after returning home from hospital. Just before 11 a.m, 2 cars left Clarence House, where the King and Queen stay. In the first car, the rear window was partly wound down. On purpose, the King wanted to be seen to convey the message, "No drama here." He was supposed to be in Birmingham for a number of engagements today. Instead, the King headed out of London to Highgrove, his estate in Gloucestershire, where he now plans to spend the weekend. The rescheduling of the King's diary followed the statement yesterday announcing he'd experienced temporary side effects that required a short period of observation in hospital. The unexpected trip to hospital is a reminder that, despite going back to work more or less full-time, this was the moment he returned to public-facing duties last year. The King is still a cancer patient and he is still undergoing treatment.
It's really very normal when people are ongoing with cancer treatment that things happen. Side effects build up, need to get treatment reviewed. You're living with it on an ongoing basis. So knowing that he went into hospital to have a review of some of the side effects is perfectly normal, and that's part of cancer care.
Queen Camilla was not with the King today, and when she was filmed on the set of ITV drama Trigger Point yesterday, even she didn't know that her husband needed to be seen by medical staff. The night before his planned treatment turned into an unplanned trip to hospital, the King had been hosting a reception at Buckingham Palace. His workload next week is now being reviewed.
Chris, what do you think this means for his schedule then?
Well, look, if you were in Birmingham today and you were expecting to see the King, he had a number of engagements in the city, then clearly you're going to be disappointed and they'll have to be rescheduled. In the short term, it's all about what happens next week, and they will assess him after his weekend away, see what it means for his diary next week, and what they will do, if they have to, is lighten his load, so adjust his schedule according to his health, if indeed they need to adjust it at all. I think the priority for them at the moment is what does he do about the state visit to Italy? That's due to happen the week afterwards. It's already been disrupted because the Pope had to cancel on the King, if you like, because of the Pope's own illness. And look, I think it'll be an entirely different order of a story if they were to cancel a big official state visit like that. So that's the priority at the moment. Make sure that he can get through next week, and still, if he can, and if the doctors allow it, get him to Rome the week after.
Okay, Chris, thank you.
But in amongst the downsides, there was at least one upside, as Gwyneth Paltrow squashed the media-generated notion that she and Meghan were involved in a feud since the release of Meghan's Netflix show. An imaginary feud which I know my house guests had already dismissed as nonsense to begin with.
I genuinely do not understand this at all whatsoever. Do you understand this?
So guys, this Sentebale conundrum is very unfortunate. I'm not willing to jump on the automatic bandwagon that I would be expected to jump on because I don't know all the facts. I don't know what's happened. I can empathise with both sides, but I actually don't know what's gone on. And we, I think, just have to wait and see what comes out. If there has been poor governance, misogyny, bullying, as Dr. Sophie claims, then it will come out. It will come out. But you know what concerns me? The fact that the media, British media, is trying to kind of imply that Harry's responsible for all of this. And as a patron, he's not going to be. Just like William and Kate, Charles, Camilla, they're patrons of charities. They're not overseeing the day-to-day operations, so they're not going to know what goes on minute by minute. They're not going to be across that, and that's why they have trustees in place to oversee those things. If there's a complaint, I'm sure Dr. Sophie will be heard, and she will be vindicated. Now, when we talk about William, I don't know why we have to talk about him, but I just knew somewhere in the background his grubby mitts would be involved some way, somehow, even if indirectly, which he's still involved as far as I'm concerned. Because why is Ian Rawlinson, who works for William, being appointed as trustee for Sentebale the same day as Harry steps down? I just find it so suspicious. I find it so suspicious. And the saying that entitlement runs away from work is so appropriate for William. And I only came across this last week, this saying, and I found it so funny. I was like, that is so true. Because really, if you're entitled, why are you going to be motivated to do anything? If you've been told from the day you were born that this is your destiny, you are destined to be king one day, why are you going to be motivated to do anything else? And that's why I can see the reason, not that it's right, but I can see the reasoning behind William wanting to be hands off, because as far as he's concerned, he doesn't need to do anything. He hasn't really been through anything apart from the death of his mother, which we all know and we all sympathise with. He's not had to fend for himself. He's not been cut off by his dad. Admittedly, Harry has had inheritance from his mother and his great-grandmother, but those have helped him to set up a new life with his family in a new territory. William does not have to face the prospect of anything like that ever happening to him and his family, because he's set for life, which is fine. But just because you're destined to be king It doesn't correlate with you having leadership skills. It doesn't correlate with you having empathy for people. So when you talk about his homelessness project, his Homewards project, which is supposed to be this 5-year plan, and I think we're halfway through that now, correct me if I'm wrong, it annoys me because this homelessness issue touches me on a personal level, and you know, maybe on this channel I'll go into that in detail one day. Today's not the time, but it does touch me on a personal level, and I just find this lip service very insulting. Just because you've given £500,000 to Lambeth Borough Council in London, what is £500,000 actually going to do in London, one of the most expensive cities in the entire world? You think that's enough? You've done your bit, William, so yeah, on to the next thing. But the thing is, you've only focused on 6 regions in the UK when this crisis is nationwide. And I suspect that this all started by someone whispering in your ear saying, you know, as the next king, you know, you've seen what your father's done with the Prince's Trust, you've seen what your grandfather's done with the Duke of Edinburgh award scheme, maybe you should do something. How about focusing on homelessness? And he's taken that and it's like, yeah, especially given the fact that Harry has initiatives which have been sustainable over decades, such as Sentebale coming up to 20 years, Invictus, which is over 10 years, and they are successful. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised that William's fingerprints are on this with regard to this trustee, because it seems that everything Harry does, William wants to hopscotch onto, because nothing he does is sustainable. Entitlement runs away from work. You know that this man already said he wants to do stuff over Zoom. How ridiculous. How ridiculous. And that's why I can't take him seriously. Just because you're destined to be king doesn't make you kingly material. You can't just be king in name only, because actions speak louder than words. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, guys, I need to get going because these shops are going to close. So, if your thoughts were provoked in any way, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all of your notifications. Before I go, I want to wish every mum, whether you're a grandmother, a mother, a big sister, an aunt, you're acting in a capacity as a mother, as a caregiver, I want to wish you a very happy Mother's Day. Hopefully you'll be pampered and spoilt. And even if someone's not going to do that for you, why don't you do that for yourself? Take yourself out to dinner, take yourself out to lunch. Buy yourself a nice bouquet of flowers, sip some champagne, and just indulge for the day, because you deserve it. So guys, I want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and you shall catch me in the next video.